Today I'm going to be busting one of the biggest myths in the planted tank hobby, which is the idea that some aquatic plants are heavy root feeders. This myth causes people to spend more money on root tabs and nutrient-rich substrates that they may not need. All aquatic plants can perform foliar feeding by absorbing nutrients directly through their leaves and stems. Terrestrial plants struggle with this because their leaves are surrounded by air and protected by their waxy cuticle layer. But when plants grow submerged in water, that cuticle layer on the leaves doesn't form and they are surrounded by nutrient-rich water due to fish waste and decomposition. This makes foliar feeding extremely efficient for plants in their aquatic form. Even ADA, a company well known for selling nutrient-rich substrates and root tabs, clearly state in their own blog posts that aquatic plants can absorb plenty of nutrients via their leaves and stems. To Our Aquarist also has an article debunking the heavy root feeder myth, explaining that root size of a plant does not determine the nutrient uptake preference, as well as the fact that uptake often depends more on the nutrient type rather than the actual plant species. Now, those are two of the most trusted sources on the planted tank side of the hobby, but let's go further and look at actual research. This study on cryptococcine wenttii studied multiple soil and sand ratio mixes, and surprisingly the plants grew best in plain inert river sand with liquid fertilizer dosed every 2 weeks, and that outperformed the nutrient-rich substrates. This paper on Echinodorus bellari only found increased growth when the plants were grown in artificial, chemically altered substrates which aren't safe for use in an aquarium and in normal aquarium substrates. There was very little data to support that they're heavy root feeders or had any advantage. Moving away from cryptococcine and Echinodorus, this research paper tested 4 submerged plant species by cutting off the roots entirely. The plants in this study still met 100% of their nutrient requirements via foliar feeding with no loss to health or growth. Now, I do want to be clear, and this doesn't mean that nutrient-rich substrates serve no purpose at all, because there are situations where they are very useful. For example, a high-end aquascape with red plants where keeping the water column free from nitrogen allows a stress response to trigger in the plant, getting that red pigmentation to form. Another example is cap dirt ecosystems where the soil contains organics to feed bacteria that break down into nutrients and increase the initial CO2 level for the tank until that detritus layer forms. There are other use cases too, but the key takeaway is that expensive nutrient-rich substrates and root tabs are not always necessary for thriving plant growth. In their submerged forms, aquatic plants are fully capable of absorbing nutrients via their leaves and stems and thriving.